session will be headed by Professor Abhyudita Gautam, Associate Professor, Department of English, Government College for Teacher Education, Dharmshala, Himachal Pradesh, India. I hope you're there, Professor. Yeah, yes, ma'am. I hope you have the paper presenters list with you.
Yes, thank
Yes,
you.
sir.
Good evening. And yes, I do. I do have the
Okay, ma'am. So I
presenters
pass
list.
on the session to you, ma'am. You can continue.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Dr. Sirisha is the presenter, the first presenter of the session. Is she here? It is a jointly presented. It's going to be like jointly written by M. Nirmala Rekha and Dr. T. Sirisha.
Nirmala
Uh,
Rekha?
I don't
No,
think they are here.
no, I don't think. I'm afraid they are not there. You can call Kamli. She's ready there.
Okay, Kamli N. Uh, she's a research scholar. Are you here, Miss Kamli N?
If she's there.
Can you please unmute? Unmute yourself, please. Uh,
Kamli, research scholar, Vellore Institute of Technology, Kilambakam, Chennai. Ma'am, are you there? Kamli, ma'am?
she's there, but apparently she's not unmuted
Yes.
herself. Or probably she's going to arrive late.
Maybe she has some technical problem.
Yes, maybe. If she could just send a message if she's
Actually,
unable to speak.
I request Cape Comorin Trust to send a message to Kamli, ma'am.
Or maybe she could just inbox here if she's unable to respond. Anyway, we can start with the third presenter. I
Yes,
can call upon
yes.
the third presenter,
Saloni Singh, she's there.
Saloni Singh. And she is very much present here. Saloni Singh Parmar.
Wait, I'm just connecting my earphones with the laptop.
That's okay. So Saloni Singh is a PhD research scholar at Chaudhry Devi Lal University, Sirsa, Haryana. And she would be presenting a paper on memory narrative, a study of Siddharth Gigu's The Garden of Solitude. This novel is based on the exodus of the Kashmiri Pandits from Kashmir. And is a part of the memory narrative. Yes, Saloni. So are you ready with your presentation? Okay, please carry on.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Saloni Singh. The topic of my paper is Memory Narrative, a study of Siddharth Gigu's The Garden of Solitude. Siddharth Gigu is a Kashmiri Pandit writer, and as ma'am said, his novel The Garden of Solitude is based on Kashmiri Pandit's exodus in 1990. Memory, as you all know, is crucial to us human beings. Without it, there is no past or future. It is important in our day to day lives in general, but also it is vital in adding meaning or making sense to our existence. Memories are passed on by narration. The narration is the process of presenting stories or events in detail. The very act of narrating is the process of remembering, and remembering is the process of striving to save memory from oblivion. Generally, according to psychology, memory is classified into two parts: procedural and declarative memory. Procedural memory is subconscious memory. It is knowing how to do the normal daily chores like how to drive, how to walk, etc. And declarative memory is related to the narrative of events. It is divided into two parts: semantic and episodic memory. Semantic memory is a memory for facts, it is general knowledge of the world around us. And episodic memory is the memory of past events in a personal way. Psychologist Endel Tulving said that the episodic memory is related to the self's experience in subjective space and time. He said The honor of episodic memory is also capable of mental time travel. Writing or narrating is a form of episodic memory. We travel into the personal as well as into the imagined future. According to the Greek legend, Mnemosyne is the mother of nine muses. She is the goddess of memory and also a goddess of time. Kings and poets used to invoke her to get the power of authoritative speech. Memory was important to the oral culture of Greek that they regarded as her as one of the building blocks of civilization in their creation myth. Greeks placed memory at the beginning of making of all human arts and ideas. To create something, we need a mental tool, and that is the intricate networks of our memories. Thus, we can say that memory is the base for writing or narrating. It is because of memory we narrate, and we narrate because we have the power of memory. And also, we also narrate to preserve memories. And writing is one of the most efficient ways to preserve memories so that they last longer. Kashmiri writers have used the fictional narrative to give their experience a narrative shape. They have employed the tool of memory to construct and reconstruct identities by reminding the present and future generations of the past and present of their land and its people. They have used both semantic memory in the sense that within their fictional narrative, they talk about historical facts of the place and events parallel to their subjective experiences and opinions, or subjective experiences of characters with intervening of historical facts or widespread knowledge of the events happening in Kashmir. Kashmiri Pandit writers, after losing their homeland, find refuge in writing. Memory is the central topic in the writings of Kashmiri Pandits as they discuss the lost past and the agony associated with recollection. The Kashmiri Pandits faced exodus in the 1990s. They have lived in exile. Longing and nostalgia are among the common themes in their work. They employed memory to highlight the conflict and reconstruct identities. Shraddhat Gigu, a Kashmiri Pandit writer, has tried to preserve his memories of Kashmir through his novel The Garden of Solitude, which was published in 2011. The novel is semi autobiographical. It reflects Gigu's memories and experiences through the protagonist named Sridhar. The narrative focuses on Sridhar's memory of his family members, friends, neighbors, the rise of militancy in Kashmir, the exodus of Pandits, and their conditions in living in exile in Jammu camps. Sridhar goes down the memory lane to search for a purpose of his existence, and while doing that, reconstructs his identity. He gathers stories and memories of Kashmiri people, specifically of the people of his community, that is Kashmiri Pandits, and records them in his work, The Book of Ancestors, which is symbolic of this novel itself, reflecting Gigu's journey as a writer. Ancestors are the roots of our past, our identity, history, and signify our sense of self. Both Gigu and his character Sridhar use memory narrative as a way of identity reconstruction. In psychology, narrative identity reconstruction is a method to explore our highest self, taking stock of one's strengths and limitations, putting aspects of the self into action, and using that enhanced sense of self as a resource in recovery. Gigu and his character Sridhar both try to recover from the pain and trauma of the Exodus through narrating memories in their books. The novel is divided into four parts. The first part focuses on the memories of the time preceding the Exodus, that is 1980s. The second part focuses on the time of the Exodus and their experiences in the Jammu camps. The third part is about the Sridhar's journey as a young man exploring himself, and the last part is about the spiritual realization of self. Then Sridhar adding purpose to his life by writing stories of generations. Throughout the novel, there is an emphasis on memory and narration. How Sridhar's mother keeps her mother-in-law alive by narrating anecdotes and stories about her so that she can never be forgotten, and later these memories transit into Sridhar's writing. Sridhar's grandfather, Mahananzu, fading memory signifies the condition of the elders of the Kashmiri Pandit community who faces mental breakdown due to exodus.
I'm afraid I cannot hear you, Saloni.
आवाज मत करो.
Uh, hello? Yeah.
Hello.
Yes, yes. You audible now
Hello.
and you visible also.
Yeah. Am I?
Yes, please carry on. There is some problem. Your screen has frozen. Saloni, I think you need to log in again. Can you do that? Shall we wait for her?
Hello,
Yes.
Saloni Singh. I think
Her
there's
screen has
some.
apparently been frozen and can't really hear her.
Yes, ma'am. I think she has to log in again, like what you've said.
I'm actually log in again. I think that will work, hopefully.
But she's not
Some signal
responding.
problem. Some technical issue, I think.
Hello, Saloni ma'am, can you hear us? Hello, yeah. I think she will come again. Yes. We'll just give it 5 minutes, huh? Let her come. Hello? Saloni Singh, ma'am, are you there? Yeah.
She's joined again. Yes, yes.
Come back. Okay.
Actually, there was electricity cut over here.
Ma'am,
Okay.
Okay, I'm really sorry.
No, that's
Can I continue?
yes, yes,
yeah,
please.
you're audible, yes.
Okay. So I was talking about Sridhar's grandfather, Mahananzu. His fading memory signifies the condition of the elders of the Kashmiri Pandit community who faces mental breakdown due to exodus. Their memory has become a burden to them, especially to the people who never traveled out of Kashmir. The mental state of Kashmiri Pandits is of those who live in past only, that their home is yesterday and their memories are their refuge. The younger generation lives in the crippled memory of the past and present. Sridhar uses the memory of the past to search for the shred of his identity. The pleasant memories are a sort of spiritual guide to reconstructing identity for Sridhar, whereas the traumatic memory, the unpleasant memories, show him the purpose for his life that makes him move forward and do something with it. That he does by recording his memories so that they can endure long and the world can know the history of Kashmiri Pandits and memory. Thus, the novel The Garden of Solitude is a book of memories narrated to search, reconstruct, and preserve the identity of displaced people. And it is also a storage of memories to pass on to generations to protect historical memory. You have used fiction to narrate memories. The whole story is written in an episodic pattern. Like the episodes of memory pass through the mind, the story unfolds in an episodic manner where one event intervenes other and then moves back to another. There are notes in between many stories collected by Sridhar. The threads connecting one story to another are simply broken in the middle, as memories are broken and on the edge of fading. Thus, because literature is an externalized collective memory that can endure uh, long past the death of the brain. Uh, Thus, this novel is in itself a memory representing the past of Kashmiri Pandits, and reading it generates the consciousness of Kashmiri identity as well as helps in acknowledging the generation of Kashmiri Pandits. Thank you.
Okay, that was in fact a very insightful paper. Saloni, I must congratulate you. You have brought in a new perspective, that is memory narrative in the study of the Kashmiri Pandits, and you have kind of analyzed this novel in a new perspective. And you have also mentioned very, intelligently how what kind of memories and the narrative is dealing with, procedural, declarative, semantic, episodic, and you have even elaborated on how episodic, uh, you know, technique has been used in this novel by the writer. Now, my question to you is, can you elaborate a little on the procedural memory, if you can? I can't hear you. Please unmute.
Procedural memory is something that is like is very natural to us, that we do our daily tasks, just like we are riding bicycle, that we learn it, then it becomes something very natural to us, like learning swimming.
Mhm.
That it just we don't forget it, like,
All right. So it's like habitual. It
yeah,
stays in your
habitual.
memory. So
Yes,
how
yes,
is
yes.
it like different from you mentioned about semantic?
Semantic memory. Semantic memory is about is general knowledge,
Mhm.
general knowledge of the world around us.
Okay.
Just facts and figures.
Okay. Just be cool. Not to
Yes.
worry about it. In fact, it was an excellent paper. Really enjoyed listening to your paper. And do you think you can draw some comparison between partition literature or
Yes,
maybe
definitely.
government in exile, like the one in Dharamshala? People have
Yes.
left. Are you
Yeah.
aware?
Yes, it can be connected with other things also, because memory is like important
Mhm.
in everything. Like I said, that it is a base for writing.
No, I'm talking about Exodus.
Exodus. Yes, it can be related to the partition, because the people who have migrated from India to Pakistan, and Pakistan from that area to India. So yes, it can be.
And the towns that had been submerged recently, you hear about a lot of hydroelectric projects and the formation of lakes, and because of that the towns are submerged and people have to shift to a new place. They're rehabilitated. So this is also the same literature that we're talking about when
Okay.
you're talking about this Kashmiri Pandit's Exodus. Anyway, I would like to ask you one question. Do you think that the younger generation, that has the new generation, that have not seen Kashmir, or probably the older generation, is there a kind of a connect between them? Do you think this memory narrative can have an influence on the younger generation? And does it really impact them?
Yes, I think the main purpose of writing this novel, that Gigu's main purpose is somewhat of like that too.
Mhm. Does it
Like,
serve the purpose? That is what my
yeah,
question is.
yeah,
It does?
I think it does.
You think?
Yeah, I
I
think,
don't
because
know.
I'm not the one who is from the Kashmir, but it does, I
There
think.
has been an intense study on the future,
Yeah.
the present generation. So I thought probably.
Yes.
Anyway, anything else that
Uh,
the audience would like to ask? Thank you, Saloni. It was a great paper and all the best. Now we'll move on to the
so
next speaker. Shweta, is she here?
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Shweta Moore, okay. So you'll be speaking
Yes,
on Beauty and Identity in the Bluest Eye by Toni Morrison.
yeah. Good afternoon to one and all.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, I won't take much time. I will just tell the gist of my paper. The title of my paper is Beauty and Identity in the Bluest Eye by Toni Morrison. In this article, this article aims to examine how African American women's subjectivity and identity are shaped by gaze. In her book, The Bluest Eye, Toni Morrison attempts to redefine beauty and the racial validity of Black women's identity crisis outside of the narrow American psychological framework. The identity crisis induces feelings of inferiority and self hatred in the mind, and this circumstance gives rise to the quest for oneself. The most offensive circumstance for a person is when they are ignored because they are invisible to the audience, and that also occurs to the novel's main character, that is Piccola. The book explains how white society developed its own idea of what is beautiful and how it has become a worldwide standard for people of all races, societies, and colors. However, a figure like Claudia, one of the book's narrator, illuminates the way to a better future for Black people. From Piccola, who has a negative picture of women, to Claudia, who is an autonomous individual, Morrison shows how the expectation of success operates. So, what it means to be an African in a racist, capitalist, and white society is explored in Toni Morrison's book, The Bluest Eye. The book title itself alludes to the prevailing racism, class exploitation, and cultural hegemony that hold whites accountable for the condition of Black people. The book main character longs to be white as well as having blue eyes. She is raised in a culture that is predicated on white ideals of beauty. The focus of this textual analysis article is a critical examination of the impacts of African American racial identification. Thank you.
Shweta, can you just switch on your camera?
Ma'am, I'm not able to.
Okay. So this was your paper, the gist of your paper, as you said.
Yeah.
Okay, so I
Yes,
don't
ma'am.
think I can really ask you questions on the Bluest Eye. Everyone knows what Bluest Eye is all about,
Yes.
and identity and beauty. So what is your idea of beauty, Shweta?
My idea for beauty, it should be equal for everyone.
Okay, and say something about racism or, the idea of the dream deferred that we talk about in this novel. At least I would like to hear something, know your feedback on this. A dream deferred.
Uh, yeah, the dream that Piccola
Uh,
she longed for her blue eyes.
uh-huh. And
Is this a question or
yeah, I would like you to say something about it.
Hmm.
Your inputs, no? Anyway,
Sorry,
all
ma'am.
right. I think that's all I can ask you on that. Thank you.
Okay.
Anyone else would like
Okay,
to
well,
ask something to the audience? Uh, Ma'am Beena, I think the first two presenters are not here.
Yes, we'll do
So,
one thing, ma'am. There is another presenter
all
named
right.
Deepa. She's not yet given her, I think it was a delay. I will call her. I think she's ready. Shall I call her, ma'am?
Is her name?
Deepa, and she's from Sri Devakumari College, Kanyakumari district. Shall I call her?
Yeah, ma'am.
Okay. Deepa, are you present there?
Yeah, ma'am. Yeah, ma'am. I'm here.
Okay. You do one thing before presenting.
Yeah.
Say your topic, your work,
Sure.
and all. Okay, to ma'am.
Okay,
Thank
ma'am.
you. Okay.
Thank you, ma'am.
Good evening, everyone. Myself, Deepa, working as the assistant.
Can you please switch on your camera?
Sorry.
Pardon, Deepa, I am not able to hear you.
Am I not audible, ma'am?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay. Am I audible, ma'am?
Yes, please go ahead.
Ma'am?
Yes, you are very much audible. You can please carry on with your presentation.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Thank you. My paper is titled as Introspective Realization Culminating to Transformation in Anta Nayar's The Better Man. As we are all aware that the social roles, traditional values, and customs are interwoven with the thread of Indian psychological development.
Can you please repeat your topic, Deepa?
Introspective realization culminating to transformation.
Introspective.
Introspective realization.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Hello, Deepa. Hello. Deepa, could you please?
She's left the meeting.
Yeah,
I think she's going to log in again.
Deepa, are you there? Hello, Deepa ma'am. No, I think.
Sorry, ma'am. Due to technical issue, it was left automatically. I have rejoined. Am I audible right now, ma'am?
Hello, Deepa.
Ma'am, am I audible?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay, ma'am. Shall I continue?
Yes.
Repeat your topic. Introspective realization.
Introspective realization culminating to transformation.
Okay.
In Anta Nayar's The Better Man. Shall I start, ma'am?
Yes, please.
Okay. So to begin with, we are all aware that the social roles, traditional values, and customs are interwoven with the thread of Indian psychological development that reveals the important aspects of Indian society. Expectations, sufferings, feelings, and desires are that which occupy the deepest recesses of one's psyche. Anita Nayar is a writer who dwells with the themes of introspection, self-discovery, and transition. Her Better Man is a work that delineates the individual's inner self or the emotional state and the Ma'am, can you give me 5 minutes? I'll join from another device, ma'am. Ma'am?
Yes, yes. What happened?
Ma'am, some
Yes,
technical
yes,
issue.
we can do that.
Yes. Yeah,
Okay,
it's due to
fine.
the technical issue. Can I join from another device, ma'am?
Yes,
Yes,
fine.
yes, please.
Thank you, ma'am. Ma'am,
There's an echo.
am I audible right now, ma'am?
Yes, yes. Okay.
Okay. Okay, ma'am. Sorry for the inconvenience, ma'am. The better man is a work that delineates the individual's inner self or the emotional state and the trauma confronted by them. The protagonist of the novel is Mugundan, and his psyche is damaged and fractured by his childhood experiences. The authoritarianism of his father suppresses him emotionally from identifying his inner self. His conscious mind is invaded by guilt for betraying his beloved, that is Anjana, and his friend Bazi, longing to be recognized as a better man than his father in his own village, named as Kaikurushi. My paper is an attempt to probe the conscious mind of Mugundan's psychic sufferings, the suppression, the contradictions, betrayal, guilt, and self realization, resulting in his transition to a better man. This is a psychological novel with varied emotional strains and traumas. And Anita Nair has skillfully used the tact of suspense in her maiden novel. This is her maiden novel. She has magically woven the mental stress and tension that is undergone, especially by the main character named Mugundan. He is a retired employee who is returning to his village, Kaikurushi, from where once he had escaped soon after his pre university examination because of his tyrannical father. I wish to say that in a patriarchal Indian society, actually a son is comparatively much preferred than a daughter. Aiming for protection, job opportunities, economic income, power, position, etc. Society believes him to be the breadwinner of the family. But here in this novel, Anita Nayar's Achyutan Nayar. Achyutan Nayar is Mugundan's father. He is actually an exception to this type of stereotype. He has not conquered any world or experienced happiness over his son. Mugundan's reaction to such a father is actually surprising and is painful too. He urges and longs for his father's love, affection, and recognition, whereas his father evoked only negative feelings on him. Achyutan Nayar has brought him like a bonsai tree, pruning up his emotions, self esteem, and confidence in the name of discipline. His father had always been a nightmare to him and his mother. The father son problematic relationship starts not at his adolescence, instead from his childhood onwards, when he was only 4 years of age. The very sight of his father, who was dressed in black, actually horrifies him when this Achyutan Nayar was returning from Burma to his native without any prior intimation. This boy, he was scared to see a tall figure, and as a boy he is going and hiding behind his mother, that is this the fear creates infuriation in his father's mind, and he was shouting at Parakuti. Parakuti is Mukundan's mother, and he was shouting at her, asking her that what have you done to him to turn him into such a pathetic creature as such. Then moreover, Mukundan is always ill-treated at his home by his father, wanting him to be disciplined actually, and actually at home is a help to him. Then the relationship is grows worse with no improvement, and Achyutan's violence proves that he is not at all caring but authoritative, who always wishes to show his power. Starting in the morning. This starts in the morning if Mukundan is a bit late to wake, and it ends with the curse that he is fit only for plowing the fields, etc. It goes on in such a manner. So not only this, but even if he is late a bit by 30 minutes or something, just like that, from the after the school, maybe he right. He used to come late due to the compulsory sports and all. He will be caned by his father. And the very next day, if he doesn't stay for the games, he was caned by his drill master too. And this is one among the instances. Then another one, at the age of 13, he was introduced to the David Copperfield by his English teacher, and he then decides to become a writer. What happens is, actually, once he was caught by his father when he was writing, and I quote here, the father tells, "Let me tell you, boy, banish that thought from your mind. No son of mine is going to waste his life trying to be a writer. Do you understand?" This is what his father tells. And then his mother is sensing the pain of the son, and she is asking him to write in the absence of the father. But the boy is refusing the idea, reminding her mother of the consequence if he is caught by his father. Then as an escape from this father, he is joining for a later on after his university examination and all, he is joining for a job at Trichy, and later gets promoted to Bangalore. Meanwhile, the father-son relation was declining due to his father's unfairly affair, deserting Parakuti, his mother. Then his hatred is increasing in such a manner towards his father. His mother wanted him to take her along with Mukundan, but to his workplace. But he, due to the fear of his father, he is convincing her, telling excuses that he shares room with his friend. But later on, he feels guilty after his mother's death for his irresponsibility of not protecting her, as it remains to be a mystery of being an accidental murder. An accident or a murder. So he is also being haunted by the sense of abandoning his mother and letting her to suffer at the ill treatment of his father. Then he is also having an aversion in returning to his native village after his retirement, and this was solved by one of his friend named Narendran. But what happens is, Mukundan's happiness was shackled by the sudden demise of Narendran due to brain tumor. So there was no other goal for him. He has to return to his native. And the days at home for almost a month was very terrifying to him, and he even sees the ghost of his mother. He is very much haunted by guilt and fear after that. And the caretaker, Krishnan Nair, is the one who consoles him. Then after that, here Achyutan Nair still fails to do his duty as a father, to find a bride for his son. He is saying that it is his own duty. It is every man must find his own woman. Mukundan is again haunted by his childhood experiences, and he is still scared of his father. So this happens. This is going on, continuing even after his retirement. Even after his retirement, he is wishing to marry Anjana, a school teacher, who has been deserted by her husband. But as he was scared of his father, he is not ready to fulfill his wish. Then, because he wanted to marry her with the consent of his father, but the father was not giving any consent for the son to do such kind of things. Then and hence he is worried about the thought of marrying her, and he is postponing as he wants. And in the meantime, here Achudan Nair is returning back to his house due to a conflict with his daughter born through his mistress. Now, though the son is having hatred and anger towards his father for destroying his life, just like a child, he is still longing for love and affection from his father. But there is no change to be seen in Achudan Nair, and though there is hatred in him, it is his father whom he considers to be the role model. But the villagers, he wanted his villagers to be he wanted himself to be recognized by his villagers, just how they recognize his father. But the villagers were not ready to accept him as that of his father, better than his father. So Mukundan does many sorts of things to be recognized by his villagers like his father, but each and every attempt of him fails, and it is Krishnan Nair who is reprimanding him to do only what is accepted by the society. In the meantime, it is the painter Basi. Here he is coming in close contact with him, and they are becoming very friends. And it is he who is resolving him from all his psychological problems. And his every attempt to expose him to be a better man is resulting negatively due to the guilt that he is the person who is responsible for his mother's death. Then Mukundan in this instance is confessing to Basi, and his reaction was shocking to him. His pity develops into affection, and it's an alarm to Basi that he wants to become a part of Mukundan's life. And at the same time, Basi is also afraid that once he will be cured, he will desert him. Still, Basi helps Mukundan to overcome his fear and to look back into his past without the feeling of guilt and fear. His guess comes to be true in the case of Powerhouse Ramakrishnan. He is one among the very famous person in that village who wishes to build a community hall to be praised for his benevolent attitude. He was in search of a suitable land, and his search is ending in looking onto Mukundan's house and a vacant land. But there was a threat in him in the name of Basi, because Basi has seen him along with his mistress at Trishur in a restaurant. So now his target from Mukundan is shifted towards Basi's land. Then there is a situation that which arises for Mukundan to save his savior Basi, as he informs of the threat because of Ramakrishnan, and he openly asks Mukundan's help. Mukundan is assuring him to help, but the very next day when he meets Powerhouse Ramakrishnan with the intention to save Basi, he becomes speechless when he was informed that he is one among the committee member of the community hall. Right, because he was longing for recognition, and here he is becoming a committee member. Now he is stuck between the desire of his long time wish of being recognized and his assurance to speak on behalf of Basi is actually being struck on. He is in this point, he is deserting his friend Basi for the power, authority, and recognition. Then he is also sacrificing his beloved Anjana to protect his reputation as a good-natured man, good-natured committee member. And so his selfishness has made him to sacrifice both his friend Bazi and his beloved Anjana, who had been a means of transformation in him. Both of them had played a good role in transforming him from his psychological scar. Right now, he is betraying both these people. Now, okay. Right after this, he is feeling much regretful when he sees Bazi's land is being erected with a building built very hastily, and he doesn't want to lead a life in remorse. Instead, wants to rectify all his guilt, and he is deciding to give quarter of an because he is completely, he cannot cure himself. All these people are leaving him. Bazi, Anjana, Krishna Nair, everyone leaves him. So he is completely now in a psychological scar, and he is of guilt. And so now he is deciding, he come to the conclusion, and he is deciding to give quarter of his land to Basi. And Basi could see the determination in the transformation of Mugundan, and Anjana too is doubtful because he is getting ready to marry her. She's also doubtful initially, and later on she's convinced on his transformation. So now he is evolving into a better man than his father in that village. So I conclude with the words that the novel contributes the mental strains and the experiences undergone by this central character named Mugundan due to the psychological and the emotional problems, and how he is realizing his faults, and he is feeling guilty, and how he succeeds in transforming him into a better man. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, thank you, Miss Deepa. I think it was a very insightful paper.
Thank you, ma'am.
You had mentioned about the transformation, but how in between he did not really want to. He actually was lured by the authority that and the recognition that being a committee member would have given him, and he had actually abandoned his friend and his beloved for that post.
Yeah, ma'am.
So in between, of course, the transformation he had undergone a few stages. Would you like to comment on that and the theme of friendship also? Because I think you had mentioned something about the ownership of land, even though I wasn't aware that you're going to present a paper here. But as far whatever I could gather from your paper, the mention of the land that is possessed by Bhasi.
Yeah, ma'am. Actually, Bazi was also having some land over there, and Mugundan was almost like a landlord there. So actually, Powerhouse Ramakrishnan wanted to build, construct a community hall in that village, and he selected Mugundan's land actually. But in the meantime, he is meeting Bazi, and Bazi actually this Powerhouse Ramakrishnan is known to Basi because once he had seen him along with his mistress at Trishur. So he is in fear that sometimes this Bazi might reveal that to the villagers. Actually, Powerhouse Ramakrishnan has a recognition in the village, actually. So he is scared that whether his recognition might be, or people may think worse of him. So he was scared of that. So he is just changing his right. Actually, he has already opted this Mugundan's land, but he is now moving on to Bazi's land, right? So that it is the apt place to construct a community hall. So from there, he is moving on to Bazi's land, so that he through Mugundan he is trying to get that land.
Okay. So you think he really transformed? Has he been able to transform himself? And initially, I would like to ask you that initially you'd mentioned that he was a government servant. So when he had to come back, he came back to his native village. So, what was the reason why he had to come back? Do you think there was any other option for him to have?
No, actually,
Uh,
after his retirement, he returned back to his village. Until then, he never
or,
felt of returning back to his village. He even after his retirement, he was feeling to go along with his friend named Narendran. And it is the demise, sudden demise of his friend that made him to return back to his village.
all right. So he wants to go. He has returned to his village, and he has transformed himself into a
Yeah.
better man. That is what the whole paper is all about. And of course,
He
the
was
introspection.
longing for that. He was longing that he wanted to become a better man than his father.
That was
Okay.
his
And yeah,
realization of his being
yeah.
a bad man, and to wanted to make the effort to become a good man. So, thank you so much. I think that's all I can ask from this paper, and it was an excellent paper. I enjoyed listening to this, and it
Okay.
was certainly, it has really added to my knowledge as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. Thanks a lot.
Do we have more paper presenters, ma'am?
No, ma'am, no. I
Okay.
Ma'am,
thank,
ma'am, good evening,
Kamli,
ma'am.
Kamli is back.
Ma'am, yes, ma'am. Now,
oh, come.
We had been waiting for you, Kamli.
Okay,
yes,
come,
ma'am.
we.
Yes, ma'am. Good
You
evening,
can
ma'am.
do it.
Shall I share my screen, ma'am?
Yes, yes.
Yes, Kamli, are
Yes.
you speaking on a study on problems faced in second language? Rani?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, please go ahead.
Whether my screen is visible, ma'am?
Yes, it is.
Yes, ma'am. Uh, Good evening, everyone. My topic is a study on problem faced in second language learning. Um, the aims and objectives of the paper. The paper generally outlooks the accessible literature on how native language skills and foreign language aptitude sways success in a foreign language. Beginning foreign language courses often have a great number of learning and exposed students. Perhaps because many students are deemed to begin foreign language studies in the middle school. This paper examines a foreign language and difficulties as well as effectual strategies that others have used to vanquish these challenges. Researchers suggest that teachers should use multisensory approaches. However, they should also explicit teach as these may necessary for students to acknowledge and use the target language. Second language learners face many difficulties, mainly because of their cultural differences. Nowadays, there is almost no school's curriculum in which the English language is not one of the core subjects. In Serbia, English is set as a foreign language and it is studied from the first grade of elementary school. It is an integral part of the curriculum, both elementary and secondary schools. The mindset of school age learners usually think that they do not have a choice whether to learn a foreign language or not. It is the responsibility of foreign language learners to ensure that materials and tasks they use in their classrooms are coordinated and administered. This latter is even more challenging in an all round classroom where the educational involvement of students from the conventional development students and where additional blending and adaptations may be necessary. The significance of different factors relevant to foreign language learners with mentioned difficulties such as students' native language skills, aptitude in foreign language learning, teachers' role in educating these kinds of students, and the choice of pertinent teaching methods and required instructive modifications. A review of literature, second language learning is anxious to the process and study of how people who acquire a second language, often referred to as the target language, were resistant to the native. This second language issue was based on monthly phases of education, but is also conveyed by educational and organizations who pursue what is true concerning human nature and the way we communicate. According to Jonah, it does means we have to grasp all the dissimilar types of languages around the world, but defined popular languages will serve as a means of communication where both the listeners and the speakers understand each other. And according to Mello, the foremost purpose of this literature review is to scrutinize second language learning and how it employs and its effect. Language learning call attention to the formal learning of a language in a classroom. On the other hand, language acquisition means acquiring the language with compact or no methodical trainings or learning. If we go to a foreign land where people communicate a different language from your inborn language, you need to procure that foreign language. It can be done with a small scale of it can be done with a small scale of formal learning of languages with all time interactions with the native people and recreation of ground, plays, parks, anywhere else. This is very feasible for learning a spoken language. In an inclusive environment, all students with special needs, regardless of the types of and severity of the disability or difficulty, attend regular schools in their neighborhood, and they are the responsibility of general education teachers. The chiefly indicates the recognition of students with language-based difficulties. According to Newhall, it is only when the educational demand and expectations rise that their language based on the disabilities become identities. There are three key points to ventilate will and will control as follows. Why to study language learning, the effect of second language or native language of the speaker, and the benefits of language learning as a second language. Why to Why to study second language learning? According to Thomas, it also motivates the higher analytical process of learning a second language on a different language to its extreme level. There are many reasons why we study second language learning and how we attach to other around us. It comes in all forms of accessing. The study of foreign language provides a competitive edge in a career choice. One can communicate in a second language as a foreign language, and the teachers should encourage and respect other peoples. It foster an understanding of the interrelations of language of human nation, said by Givalos. The studies were carried out by the disparate scholars with different theories of second language. According to Cohen, this is why the second language study was contemplating an extreme psychological process of knowledge and communications, that how we collaborate with others in the world. Language learning means have to grasp a complex system of word structure and grammar to communicate effectively with others. We learn how to interface even before we can talk, and as we grow older, we find way to employ language to transport what we want to say with words and complex systems. This is one of the myriad reason why language is essential. The the effect of a second language on a native language speakers. A foreign language subjugates and has systematic control over the native language on their speakers. The second language and its learning in any state have always been dissimilar to people in different places. According to Beck's, it is detected that when a foreign language approaches to control the native language, speakers veer their dialects to learn the new language due to factors such as modernity, exodus, training, and etc. According to Marian and Shok noted that people shift from the monolingual to bilingual, where a lot of cognitive thinking develops, leading to active language get fading away. Whereas they avoid using the other language with monolinguals, they may call upon it when interacting with bilingual, either by changing over completely to other language or by bilingual elements of other languages into the language they are speaking, said by Grossian. Those who supported foreign languages are too likely to hold and to speak a second language, which they will speak in another way. They can even balance, which will result in a mess of inappropriate linguistic information. Acquaintance with a second language will be uh, of three types: magnifying the convolutions of the first language syntax, magnify language use skills, magnifying non-linguistic skills. Uh, the benefits of second language learning. The learning of a second language has stimulated a beneficial impact on both the domestic and international level. According to Eaton Institute, the learning of a second language is dispensed and designated as some of the most popular well-being as many people supported it to be. The first one is same as it boosts our brain power. Learning a new language means your brain has to cope with complexity as it makes sense of and observe new pattern. The article put forward that when learning a new language uplifts our brain that is not performing and activates our coherent way of thinking. According to Richmond, the other is that it accelerates a networking skill, which virtually means when you are bilingual or multilingual, you dominate looking at the world from a different outlooks, magnifying your ability to interface in today's comprehensively connected world. The other well-being that is seen is the refinement of academic performance in other areas. And according to Lawless, the benefits of learning a second language approaches in a form of augmenting brain power for those who acquire a knowledge and as well furnished with conferencing skills, whereas bilinguals have interest to the interior world more than individual and improvement in academic concepts. The benefits carried out when learning a second language. Around the world today, there are progressive children and grown-ups who, for unique, attractive academic and economic reasons, are flattering multilingual. There are certainly myriad bilingual brains on the planets. Uh, Latterly, students had to be revealed to the international language heritage, official languages, and indigenous languages. Subjections to these other languages magnifies the cultural recognition. Students learn that cultural implementation varies around the world. They learn to give respect to the members of future cultures and speakers of myriad languages. And also, it has been proclaiming that it is more difficult to be cautious of an individual and know that the judgmental of mysterious group. By extension, it is the aspiration that the kind of comprehensive anti-racist educational promoted by exposure to second language has a long positive sequel on students and show the affinity towards the people who approaches from other culture and expressive languages. And there are some advantages of being revealed to a second language, including consequent advantages that can make an appearance from attaining a particular level of capability in second language. For centuries, it has been conceived that learning about supplementary people, other cultures, and other languages enlarges the mind. The instructional method, it is then the teacher's task to make the best of the material they have used in the class. Even if teaching materials are of relatively poor quality, exceptional teachers can usually recompense us. On the other hand, very well designed teaching material will not assure success in a foreign language learning. If teachers lack in qualification, motivation, training, experience, and language proficiency, myriad studies shows that with appropriate instructional modifications, students with languages learning difficulties can succeed in studying a foreign language. They also indicate that students with moderate or severe language learning difficulties may need additional accommodation like small groups, extra time, additional practice, reduced course loads, or some specific classroom settings. I conclude my paper with these points. Occasionally, learning disabilities are spotted in students. Later, they have practiced difficulties in a foreign language and accomplished poor results. The literature spotted in this paper has shown that, nevertheless, of the learning disability diagnosis, both students with learning incapacities and those with the foreign learning difficulties have tribulations in native language skills and have a weaker foreign language capacity, which far along hurts foreign languages. Even though it is archaic, the modern language aptitude test remains noteworthy on the list of foreign language aptitude. Apart from actuality knowledgeable, trained, state qualified, and experts in foreign language teachers, also requisite be trained to effort in an inclusive classroom. Divergent studies have exposed the multisensory structured language. Directives are proved to be the best instructional procedure for students with glitches in the foreign language learning. The study of language aids people to unite the world to the doorway with the help of modern technology. It displays people can interconnect using numerous natures of language to relate with others. This also shows the learning a second language is a dynamic device that formed and determine the look of the society in which we live. There is the effect that come across after learning a second language and the effect on the native language and its speaker. Learning a second language value nothing to content about. We can combine things rendering to the way we imagine and the way we converse part in the world. Today existence through interactions is a tool that is utilized by people to communicate with each other. Consequently, acquiring a foreign language is not difficult, and it means interaction that support us to comprehend the open air world. Uh, these are my references. I took my. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, thank you, Kamli, for this rather elaborate paper on second language problems. In fact, I was looking for problems in the paper. I could make out all other things, that you had mentioned in the paper, but the problems were not really evident. And I would actually, tell you something about the Secondary Education Commission that recommended the language to be introduced in India in 1952 and 53, and the second language acquisition in 1960s and 70s, which recommended L1 and L2 as language 1 and language 2. So, Kamli, I would just request you to kindly elaborate on the problems that you had mentioned in your paper, and what do you think are the steps that should be taken to overcome these problems in a very, just points. Can you just mention them?